before 2012, absolutely. No one's going to stop this from really motoring along. I genuinely believe that because the evidence is so compelling.
In the original grounds that went to the CCRC in 2000, it suggested that Essex police officers had deliberately withheld some of the evidence. The suggestions were that the disturbance in the kitchen that was in the photographs that were presented in evidence at the original trial had actually been caused by the firearms team and not by a disturbance in the kitchen, as the prosecution were portraying in the actual original evidence. Several members of my team actually went back and interviewed all the firearms officers. And I understand that was the case, that a couple of stools had been moved by the firearms team. A couple of stools had been moved.
Well, today we're doing a particular experiment that centres around the Aga. At trial, it was said that Neville was found seated in a very unnatural position on an upturned chair in the kitchen. And the prosecution put forward the hypothesis that Jeremy had somehow tortured his father as some sort of part of a sadistic ritual that he went through during the course of the shootings.
But Dad and I were really close. So all that, torturing him with the gun and all that, being angry and wanting to kill him, just nonsense. Really, I can't, I don't know how else to describe it.
But from what we know now, it's our contention that in fact Neville was against the Aga when the police entered the farmhouse, and that the burns were caused by the Aga itself.
A major factor is that we can prove that they've interfered with the scene. They can't have been caused anywhere else.
No, they can't.
They certainly weren't caused with a rifle.
And that paints a very different picture to that was painted in court and changed the narrative from what it was at trial.
My name's Philip Boyce, so I'm a forensic scientist. I've been a forensic scientist since 1984, and I specialise in firearms and tool marks. Today I was looking at the possibility that the burn marks on Neville Bamber's back had been produced by part of the Aga whenever it was on full heat. Thankfully, we actually got an Aga that is exactly the same model as was in Whitehouse Farm back then. I have looked at this aspect before, looking into the possibility how those burns were actually on Neville Bamber's back. And initially, one possibility was that the barrel of the actual weapon was underneath the top hot plate of the Aga. And in the experimentations I did back then, it took less than 5 minutes to heat the barrel of the weapon up enough to burn you. At that point in time, I didn't actually consider could any other parts of the Aga have caused the burns.
How important do you think this is in terms of the case?
It's very important in that it actually shows that there's a possibility that Neville Bamber's body was actually physically moved after the police actually arrived at the scene, and effectively the evidence was changed, for want of a better word.
You only discovered this in kind of November time, wasn't it?
This year, yeah. The burn mark issue is completely finished, and in 2012 they wanted a bit more information on the burn marks, and then they'd refer it. Well, they've got everything that they need now. You can see them with your own eyes.
If the truth comes out, people will realise that he has suffered one of the worst miscarriages of justice in English legal history.
I'd like to be free and I'd like to clear my name, but my name will be cleared in due course anyway. And I can live with that, or I can die with it.